I'm going to speak to you about is how to get your house in order for us to reduce the common stressors that impede living our life to its fullest. Okay? And LACERS has wonderful programs for you to take advantage of. Maybe some of them you already know about, and hopefully at the end of the presentation today, you'll go ahead and think about trying something new. Okay? So I'm going to cover these 3 points: maintaining and updating your home to be safe, preparing for an emergency, and connecting with your community. So we'll get started on how to get your house in order. Okay? So our house doesn't change. Unless you moved, you bought a new home, that's the only time we see a change. But what happens is over time, we change. Our abilities change. Our mobility, our vision, things change in us that makes a change in the home. So I'll go over that. And one of the things that can change, or a combination of things that can change, can unfortunately put us at risk for a fall. Okay? And a fall can occur at anywhere at any time. Is there anyone here in this room who hasn't fallen in their entire life? Okay. Someone almost raised their hand and then they pulled it back. Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, you would be a presenter over here. So we all know we've fallen at some point, right? We have fallen sometimes when we're traveling, we're outside, visiting. But majority of the falls, over 50% of the falls, actually occur in our own home. Okay? But people don't talk about it. Okay? So, and what we see is 1 in 3 individuals over the age of 55 experience a fall. Okay? And we all know sometimes you fall, you have little scrapes, little bumps and bruises, but sometimes a fall could be very devastating. Okay? And could impact a host of things, not only a loss of mobility, loss of confidence. Sometimes we have medical complications from that fall. We develop infections or complications for now a new medication that's introduced to our body. We lose our independence. A fall sometimes impacts not only one person, but entire families now impacted by it. Right? And what I see with falls could be very devastating because it could lead to isolation. Some individuals, when they fall, what they do is then they say, well, you know, I'm not going to go out of a house. I'm just going to stay home. I'm just going to stay in my bed. And that actually puts you at risk of more falls. So there's 2 risk factors for a fall. It's either you've fallen or people who are scared of falling. Okay? So they change their behavior, and with that change, puts them at risk. So I'm going to talk about some of these factors. And yes, unfortunately, sometimes with a fall could be devastating to the point that could lead to death. Okay, if we're hurting our neck or our head, that's a huge concern. So you all have your sticky notes. What I'm going to ask you to do is cross out one of those sticky notes. So if you have to get rid of, or if you're forced to get rid of this one important thing, which one would you go ahead and cross it out? Yeah, I know it's not a fun task to do. So, risk factors that contribute to a fall. There's 3 major categories. There's the biological, there's the behavioral, and then the environment. So let's kind of break this down. So biological. So there's a normal process of aging. All of us are going through this. You know, the minute that we are born, we are aging. And so there's certain things that we cannot change, right? We start losing our hearing. It isn't as crisp as it used to be. Some of us go ahead and start getting our glasses, right? We notice that with our fine motor coordination or just the sensation, right? There's changes there. So there's normal process of wear and tear with aging. But for some of us, we experience, due to various medical conditions, right? It complicates things as we're getting older. And we look at various medical conditions. So what you see on the slide, it's from head to toe, or how I like to start is starting from the bottom up. So if an individual has pain in their feet, they have corns, they have calluses, even ingrown toenails, okay, that could lead to a fall. People who are experiencing some numbness or tingling in their feet, typically it's from diabetes, okay, one of the side effects of that. Some of us have pains in our joints, right, from arthritis. Some of us have experienced various aches and pains, whether it's from you being very active in your work or in sports, or you had some kind of an injury and it just never recovered. You didn't come back to being 100%. Okay? And then what we also see is, we discussed the vision impairments, but I also want you to think about some of us may also experience more of the neurological, more cognitive impairments like the dementias. And so that puts someone at a higher risk. What's also in this category, as we move up, we're hearing more and more of dizziness and vertigo. Part of that is also due to stress factors, okay? In the last 5 or so years, we're seeing more and more individuals complaining of vertigo. That's where you're feeling the off balance, the room is moving, right? Okay. So all of these factors, and then if you add on top of it, adverse side effects of medication, right? We all know you go pick up that one prescription from the pharmacy and you get 2 or 3 pages of side effects that you have to look at, yeah? So, and with medication, it's almost like you have to be a mathematician to do an algorithm summary of, okay, which with what and how much and when, and with food, without food, with greens, without greens, and they all have their own side effects, right? So the more medications we're taking, right, we're adding to this mathematical complicated equation of potential side effects that could occur. We have here also alcohol usage. I don't need to share that with you, but what I would say is consult with your pharmacist, okay? And we'll cover that in the next section when we're talking about how to talk to your doctor. But one of the key players for you is not only your physician, but also your pharmacist, to consult with them about your medication. So with dementias, what we see is because it impacts one's ability to have good judgment, the person gets easily distracted. So they could be wires, they could be dog, they could be kids on the floor running around, and they could be walking in one direction and be tripping, not realizing that there's a pothole, not realizing that there's, a piece of furniture that you've adjusted and moved, but they don't remember that you moved that or they themselves moved that. So it puts that individual at higher risk. Or that individual is thirsty but doesn't realize, to say, you know what, I need to go get a drink. So from being thirsty, we get the dehydration, and now we have some complications, okay? So take a look at that. If any of you are caring for a loved one who has a form of dementia, there are things that we need to consider to keep them safe. Behavioral. So let's take a look at what are some of our risk factors that relate to our behavior, okay? So the aging process, those are things we don't have control over, but behavior we do have control over, like choices of the footwear, okay? And this is a big one. So this could be a whole day presentation on the kinds of shoes you tend to choose. So, and this is what I call choosing the right shoes makes you have happy feet, okay? Happy feet are healthy feet, okay? And it's very important to wear the right kind of shoes. Now, the right kind of shoes means you need to go to Nordstrom to go buy $200, $300 pair of shoes? No. I'm just going to show you a quick, a few tips of what makes a good shoe a healthy shoe. Going to Payless or going to Kmart, you can find a wonderful, good, healthy shoe as well, okay?
Anat?
So, what's important in a healthy shoe is that the back of the shoe, right, where your ankle is, when you push down, and you don't need a man to go and push down on the back of your shoe. You yourself, women, push down with your thumb on the back of the shoe. Does it go flopping down? No. And I'm pushing on the back of my shoe, okay? It's giving me support for my ankle, okay? So make sure you take your shoe and does it go flopping down? Some of our $200, $250 sports shoes, Nike shoes, just go straight down. It doesn't give you support. It looks nice, but it's not a good, healthy shoe for you. The other thing is when we walk, what do? Do we walk like this? No. We roll, right? Heel, toe, correct? Same thing with your shoe. Your shoe should not force you to walk like this. A shoe should have a natural bounce to it, okay? So some of you, when you put your shoes on, when you try them, you'll see you cannot push on the shoe to have this natural bounce, okay? And especially like those platform shoes, there is no bounce to it, right? The other thing is you want to make sure that you have a nail distance between where your toe ends to where the shoe ends. Why?
Nail distance.
Right, just your nail distance of your thumbnail. Where does your toe end and where does the shoe end? You have to have a little space there. Some of us actually buy shoes and your toe is right up against the end of the shoe. So this puts your toe at risk of when you bump into something, guess where you're going to feel all that pressure? On your toe. Guess what podiatrists see in their office? A lot of infections and damages to individuals' toes, right? From this banging, hitting, whether it's furniture or a curb that you just bumped into or you tripped over something. But if you have that space, you have a little cushion, okay, that takes that pressure off and that pounding. Okay? The other thing is a shoe should not twist into a pretzel. Again, for that right kind of a support, it should have some firmness to it. Okay? So just a few tips about the shoe. Next, we want to take, so Crocs, I've seen some individuals wearing Crocs. So the orthopedist loves you guys, okay? Because a Croc forms to the deformity of your feet. So yes, it feels comfortable, but it's not healthy for your foot because your foot has deformities. All of us have that, okay? And so we want to create structure so that we walk right, not keep walking the way we do, right? Some of us roll in when we walk. Some of us are more tiptoers. Some of us walk more on the outside. And so the Crocs are not a good shoe to wear on a consistent basis. I know sometimes if you have a swollen foot, you have a certain medical condition, you need to get that wider shoe or easier slip-on shoe. But pay attention to the shoe choices that you make. Going to jump to the next one is physical activity. Physical activity doesn't mean you need to go to the gym every day lifting 500-pound weights, okay? We are very fortunate, majority of the time, here in LA, we have gorgeous sunshine. That you just a 15-minute walk twice a day. 15-minute walk twice a day will extend your life by 2 years. Just that alone, okay? Very easy, okay? So stay active, okay? And in the next presentation, I'll give you some suggestions, ideas, whether it's within the house or things you could do in the community. Pay attention when you're getting up in the morning. Are you distracted? The television's on. You have one foot up in the air. You're leaning on something. You're on the phone, right? Take 2 seconds to sit on the edge of your chair. Make sure that you're not feeling dizzy. Make sure you don't have lightheadedness, okay? Make sure that your feet are touching the ground. 2 seconds, okay? Because within those 2 seconds that you wanted to jump out of bed, that's where we see individual falls, okay? See that you're comfortable, then you get up, you still feel good, you're not dizzy. when you need to go get dressed, okay, don't go leaning, hanging, doing multiple things, right? Have your chair, whatever your place to sit or stand, but be safe, not be distracted and one leg is up in the air and doing acrobatics, okay? I know a lot of us do this, and that's where we could get injured. We can fall. Again, it's 1 extra minute that we take that could save you a hospital visit, okay? So which one do we want? I know you already had a whole presentation on clutter, so I'm not going to cover that. I'll just show you a picture. And then with taking care of yourself at home is also pay attention, are you drinking? Okay, are you staying hydrated? And hydrated is not coffee, is not tea, is not our sodas, okay? Because those are diuretics. Caffeine is a diuretic. It actually flushes the water out of your body, okay? How much water are you drinking a day? Okay? And what's great is we have these cute little bottles, or you have a cup. Use these as cues for yourself. How much am I actually drinking? Okay? Or how much is my loved one drinking? Are we drinking enough? Okay? And if you need to cheat a little bit, because I know I used to not like water, it's like, it tastes like nothing. Yeah. So squeeze in a little lime, a little lemon, something to flavor it a little bit. Okay? But drinking sodas and coffee, again, is not staying hydrated. Okay. So the physical activity, why is this important? It's a basic thing. You use it or you lose it. Okay? So, and as we get older, it's that much more important, right? To maintain or build or strengthen our muscles, to stay coordinated, to maintain our balance, okay? So all of that, because, you know, as we were kids, we're on the playground, we're running around, we're at home, we don't want to come home, sit down and do our homework. All we want to do is run around or be on the bike or be on the skateboard or what have you. But as we get older, right, we find excuses and we stay busy with life that let's not go for a walk down the street, or let me park the first slot by the supermarket, right? You get upset, how come you didn't get that? Well, park a little ways down so you could walk a little bit to the store, so you could walk a little bit to the market, okay? You're keeping yourself healthier. So, clutter. So this is a picture. One is a kitchen, one is a bedroom, one is a living room. Could you tell which is which? Yeah. Okay. So your second sticker, go ahead and tear it off or cross it out. So the basic tips for the behavioral, what do you do to take care of yourself? Each one of us in this room should be going to a doctor at least once a year. Each one of us in this room has insurance. There is no excuse, right? No one in this room should say, I don't have insurance, okay? So go to the doctor to make sure, because they could catch some preventative stuff that are beginning to creep in that you haven't noticed because you're getting used to it, but they can catch, okay? Make sure you stay active during the day, okay? If you're a person who's never done anything, start with one thing, whether it's walking just down your block, okay? So don't compare yourself to anyone, whether person you're sitting next to or your partner or a family member, okay? You got to start with yourself. And if you have various medical conditions, go ahead and also consult with your doctor, the do's and don'ts of what you should do and what's okay for you to do. And staying hydrated, very important. Okay, then the next one in relation to falls is our environment. So that's our surroundings. So about 50% of the falls, like I said, occur in their home. People tend not to tell their children or not to tell anyone because they think, then they're going to lock me up. They're going to put me away. They're going to take me out of my home, okay? But it's important to have dialogue and say, yes, I almost fell or I fell. It could be something going on with your medication, okay? Either the doctor increased, decreased, or the doctor has to change your medication, okay? Or is it that now we need to change our prescription, okay? So it will only help you to talk about it, okay? Other things we want to look at are basic tripping hazards, okay? Things have changed now over time with the wires, the cords for the telephone or for the lamp. But if you're going to visit a loved one, you're visiting your friends, visiting a neighbor, pay attention. You know, do you see cords all around, you know, that you have to kind of walk around, jump over things? See if you can tuck it behind the furniture, tuck it underneath the heavy rug, okay? Pay attention to if there's thresholds, okay? Sometimes when you walk into a new home or new surroundings, there are these thresholds between two rooms, okay? That's where people start bumping into things, okay? Take a look at what's happening with the staircase. The staircase has a railing for a reason, and I know many of us women with our shoes, sometimes we almost felt like we were going to fly off or fall back because of the way the stairs are, or your heels get caught in the stairs. The rails are there to hold on to help for a reason, to prevent a fall or an injury, okay? There's one woman I was working with, she was 85 years old. She had 20 flights of stairs to her home and no handrails. She was holding on from stair to stair going up the stairs, okay? And this was in Hollywood Hills. You want to also take a look at what do you have at the bottom of your stairs or the top of your stairs if you have a two-story. Okay, some people leave piles of things right in the staircase. Well, you know, when I go up, I'll go ahead and put it up. But if it's nighttime now, you're tired, you're distracted, that becomes a tripping hazard for you. Okay, so make sure it's away from the staircase. You're not going to be bumping into it. Make sure that that staircase is well lit. I always say have a little night light at the staircase. Have a little night light in the hallway. Okay, many of us are getting up in the middle of the night to go use the restroom. Okay, you're tired, you're dizzy, right? You're not so alert. Some of us are taking medication that totally compromises us sometimes, right? Have little night lights around. And if you're traveling, take a little night light with you, okay? Those are about $2, okay? And I think some of the 99-cent store also has them. And then bathrooms. Some of the homes, when I come and I do an assessment, the person is holding on to the toilet paper bar to get up and get down. Or they're holding on to the soap dispenser, right? Soap dispenser is wet, is slippery to get in and out of the bathtub. Okay. So there are wonderful bars that you can get, hand bars you could get at Home Depot or any of the hardware stores that are beautiful, that are nice, that don't have this medical look that you feel like you're in a hospital setting. They fit in with the decor of your bathroom or your home to make it still look nice, but most important, safe for you. Okay. And then we also want to take a look at, so the kitchen is the other important part of the home that I take a look at. And those of you who like to cook, I take a look at what's going on by your stove. So if you're cooking and there's grease, guess where that grease is going splattering? Also by your feet, okay? So do you have like a non-skid mat right down there so you don't go slipping and sliding? That kind of is in place and keeps you safe. Where do you put your dishes that you use on a regular basis? Some of the homes that I go into, the person is climbing on a counter, going way up high, it's over the refrigerator. Bring the stuff that you use on a daily basis, regular basis down, okay? Things that you use just once in a while or when you're hosting a party or a celebration, holiday, that's fine, put that up because that's rare that you're gonna go up there. And if you do need to go up, use the correct kind, right? Instead of climbing up on the counter, or you forgot there was, you know, some water there or some leftover something and you go skidding and sliding. Or the chair, okay? Use the right kind of staircase, little stair that has the bar that you could actually hold on and give you balance and grip. And then lastly is also lighting. Lighting inside your house as well as outside of the house, okay? We know LA City, we know all the cracks in the sidewalks, you know. don't choose to go on that sidewalk that has all the cracks and the roots coming out of it. Cross the street, go on a better lit street, go on a street that's smoother for you. You coming into your driveway, is that well lit? Okay? For safety reasons as well as fall prevention, that there's something there, you left something there, okay? And in your home, do you need someone to come and help you change the lighting? Because I know it's way up high. Or any of you visiting someone, check on their lights. Go around the house, turn on all the lights, see, are all the lights working? Okay? So the same woman that I was working with, most of her lights weren't working. Okay? So she was just with a candle and a little lamp at her front door. And she had a hardwood floor, and all of her papers were on the floor. Okay? Not safe. But these things happen. Life happens, right? She had a lot of medical conditions that she couldn't do, and she didn't want to intrude on her nephew. She didn't have children. She didn't want to intrude on her nephew to come and change the light bulbs. Okay? So sometimes it's our responsibility to check on our loved ones and go ahead and check on the lightings. All right. Now, are you prepared? So October will be around the corner before we know it, and we know that's usually the shakeout months that we want to get ready. How many of you here feel that you are prepared if we have an earthquake? How many of you? Show of hands. Okay. Yeah, so not a lot, right? Maybe like 1 or 2%. And I would ask how many of those who felt that they were going to raise their hand, how many shared your ideas, your preparation ideas with a loved one? Okay? So about 1 or 2 of the entire room. So let's go over this quickly. Take your third sticker, cross it out. So, some life-saving tips for you when you're home. And unfortunately, we've all experienced either personally or some of our friends or family members were impacted by the recent fires, right? It's not something that I have to say that it happened, 10 years ago with an earthquake or 20 years ago. No, this just happened, right? So there are certain things around your home that you need to be aware of. Number 1 is smoke alarm. Not changing your battery of your smoke alarm is the actual smoke alarm itself. A smoke alarm only has 10-year shelf life. Did you guys know that? Okay. And when was the last time you actually removed the smoke alarm and checked the date on it to make sure you are within that 10-year time frame? Okay. So changing the battery, that we have to do on a yearly basis, but also changing the actual smoke alarm itself. So now the law in California is that any smoke alarm that you go and you buy on the shelf has a 10-year it has a 10-year battery life in it, built in. Those are fantastic. So you don't have to remember year to year to change, you just test it, but you do have to remember, put it on your calendar, that within like 9 years, check and see that yours is within the time frame. So if you remove one, what you see is a date on the inside. That's the production date. You add 10 years to that, and that tells you, are you within the 10-year or not? So the homes that I went and did canvassing in Venice Beach area, we found ones 20, 30, 40 years old. And in beautiful homes. Some of them were multi-million-dollar homes. Okay? But people have lived it for a very long time. Okay? And so they think, well, if I just change the battery, then. Let me wait for the questions till the end. Okay? So smoke alarm is very important. Where do you put your smoke alarm? Every sleeping area. We used to say every bedroom, but now some of us have people sleeping in our living room, people sleeping in our garage. So every sleeping area and the hallway leading to the sleeping area should also have a smoke alarm. So a smoke alarm nowadays costs about $20. Okay, so ask yourself, are you worth it? Is your family member worth that $20? Okay, very important. So smoke alarms in every sleeping area, but carbon monoxide detector, just one in the house. That's it. Other things is we want to take a look at is your fire extinguisher. I know when I moved into my home, that was one of the first things we bought, but that was 15 years ago. So fire extinguishers also have expiration dates, typically around 5 years. So you could prolong the life a little bit by once a month taking it and turning it over, okay? Because it's basically a powder inside, like baking soda. But that you want to go ahead and check. And the fire extinguisher shouldn't be somewhere tucked away, hidden behind something that nobody knows. One home I went into, I asked the father, the son, the wife were there. The husband knew where the fire extinguisher was, but his wife didn't and his children didn't know. Okay? And sometimes that's who we're going to have to rely on. Yeah? So make sure that everyone in your household knows where the fire extinguisher is. Ideally, should be in the kitchen or by the kitchen. Okay? Exits. Everybody should have 2 exits out of their home, 2 exits out of your bedroom. And yes, an exit could mean your window. Okay? So your window has to be clear. Right? We saw the clutter. Sometimes I do see piles of things up against a window. So that's for your safety to get out or for first responder to come in to get you out. Okay? So make sure your windows are not blocked by stuff. And sometimes these stuff are furniture. You have a big armoire. You have a big shelf. Is it blocking your window where that window is your exit? Okay? So we all have 2 exits out of our home, but we all have 2 exits out of our bedroom. Our normal day-to-day exit, but pay attention, where is that second exit going to be? Okay? Very important. Now, when you exit, where do you go? Okay? So we heard, right, the last fire, there were about 800 people were missing. So part of that missing is because no one told anyone where they're going to go if there is an emergency. So whether there's a fire or there's an earthquake, you have to have a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is a local place down your block, by the mailbox, by the church, by the big tall pine tree. That's where we're going to all meet. But if unfortunately, like we saw with the fire, sometimes it takes over the entire neighborhood, where is that second place going to be? And did you share that second place with your loved ones so they know not to go running into the house that's burning down, but to go looking for you in plan A, and if not plan A, it's plan B. So everyone in your household should know that plan, and your emergency contact person should also know that plan, okay? Because some of us, right, those of you, you're all retired, but doesn't mean you're home 24/7. And if you have any family members living with you, some are still working, some went to school, some are on vacation, some are shopping. So there could be an emergency that happens and there's only one person at home. But where is that plan that we're all going to meet in the same place? Okay, so we don't have to be frantic and searching for each other. Okay, so that's very important. So have a plan, share your plan, practice your plan. Okay, have your meeting place, very important. Let me see, and know, so there's a plan that you do if you have to shelter in place and don't run out of the house, and there's a different plan that we do when we do have to leave. And when you leave, what do you take? All of you have old backpacks, right? Get an old backpack and put some of these items that I'm going to share with you, and I'll share with you a website at the end where you could get other ideas of what to put in your backpack. This is your backpack where you have to evacuate immediately. And what you need to put in this backpack is only the important things in this backpack, like copies of important documents. Not originals, copies. You could put it on a flash drive, okay? So that if you have to evacuate and you're going to a shelter and they ask you to confirm who you are and your belongings, and if, God forbid, you've lost everything, right? And it's enough pain and stress that you have to deal with that, but then you say, I don't have any documents. I don't have anything to prove, okay? Have copies of your documents. Have your medical list, and anyone that you're caring for, their medical list, what their medications are, what's the milligram, what's the name. So when you go to the shelter, you don't stand there and say, well, it's heart medication. Yeah, but which one? And so a lot of families, when we find them in the shelter, they go, well, it's the pink pill or the blue pill. Okay, but what does that mean? Okay, so make sure you have a list of your medication, the milligrams, the dosage, what it's for, and include who your doctor is. And again, if you're taking care of someone who has dementia, have that. If you have grandkids, kids, they need to have their own bag with their own information. And if you have pets, also create a bag for your pet with their information. So emergency contact, and we talked about escape plan and safe meeting place. There is a wonderful app you can go and you can check where, so there's a city app where you can check and see if your loved ones, if you're living here and you have a loved one living in New York, they could give you an alert if something happens in New York in their neighborhood. Okay? So the last big fire that we had in Ventura, my friends in Hawaii called up their parents in Ventura. Mom has osteoporosis, dad has Parkinson's. They never heard the fire department knocking on their door to evacuate. But the son got an alert on his phone. So he called his mom and he woke her up at 3 in the morning and said, Mom, you got to evacuate. Okay? So that's an important app. Know your loved one's neighbors. So if you can't get hold of your loved one, you can contact your neighbor, their neighbor, to go knocking on their door and checking on them. Okay? That's important. Okay. This is some resources. So our local city fire department, our emergency management department. You also all have in your packets a nice booklet that helps you get started with all this information that I've shared with you right now. Okay? And also working with your local neighborhood councils, neighborhood organizations, faith-based organizations. You've all worked for the government, you all know, okay? Things take a little longer, right? So we need to rely on ourselves, we need to rely on our family and our own community, your neighborhood, to make things work and work things out until first responder could come in and help, right? Sometimes they can't get there in the time that you need them to. So what's the plan? Okay. So the third thing, right? So we talked about ourselves biologically, we talked about our environment, we talked about the behavioral changes. The third, but also extremely important, if any of you have heard my presentations before, this is always introduced in every one of my talks, is how do we stay connected in the community? To reduce depression, to reduce loneliness, anxiety, stay active is to stay connected with your community, whatever that your community may be, and I'll give you examples. So your fourth sticker, go ahead and cross it out. So what does this mean? Okay, so I'm not talking about aging well, I am talking about living well. Okay? I know it's a hard thing to do, is cross it out. So living well, what is that for you? Okay? And what are some options that we have? So part of living well is, how are we feeding our body? How are we feeding our mind? Okay? Are you nurturing your spiritual side, whatever that is for you? If you are of a certain faith, or if a spiritual you means going to the beach, or going up to the mountains, being with nature, whatever that is for you, that is fine. And if you've never explored that, this is a wonderful time to explore that. Also discovering your artistic side. When was the last time you picked up a paintbrush? When was the last time you picked up a crayon? Okay? There's wonderful classes, or don't join a class. Just go to the 99-cent store, your local store, pick up a box of crayons and start drawing. Sit outside, go to the park, and see what comes. Okay? No one is going to judge you, right? So with art, its beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So exploring your surroundings, and I'll show you a slide at the end what that means, okay? But moving, staying hydrated, staying connected, but keep moving. What does that mean? Any kind of moving, okay? Dancing, doing yoga, doing Tai Chi, going for a walk. Yes, even gardening is moving. Kicking the ball, playing basketball with your kids, that's moving, Okay? You have so many opportunities, and especially here in LA, and majority of these, if not all of these, you could do for free. Okay? So here are some places you could go to. Okay? When was the last time you went to a museum? When was the last time you actually walked on campus of a community college or university? So education is wasted on the youth, right? Because the kid is sitting there, oh, I have this exam, I have this report, right? They're stressing, they just want to get out. But this is a great opportunity. You may want to consider going back to school, taking a subject, taking a class you always wanted to, but you didn't have the time to, okay? Or you were on this program that you needed to finish up, certain units in your major. Take an art class, take a photography class, take a history class. It's very inspiring. And then centers, there's a lot of clubs, whether within your network or in the faith-based organization. You all belong to LACERS. LACERS has incredible programs. Go ahead and try things out, okay? Just because you've never done it before doesn't mean that it may not be the right fit for you. Could be the right fit for you right now, okay? Just give it a try. It's like trying new food. You don't know until you taste it, okay? So I want you to think about what's in your creative and experiential sources of meaning, whether it's meaning with people, whether it's places, doing a project, some volunteer work. LACERS has a wonderful volunteer program that will help you, inspire you to express your most important, what you value the most and connect with life. Okay? And I'm going to end with this. These are all local sites, local places. There was a report that just came out 2 weeks ago that just taking yourself to the park with no intention, with no plan of any kind, just going to the park changes the person's whole mood and the person feels happy. Just going to the park, okay? And we do have so many beautiful and wonderful parks all around us, okay? So I'm going to end here and ask you, is your house in order? Okay? And the sticky notes that I have relate to all three of our presentations, which is about your life. What's important for you? And are there things that, hopefully one or two things that I've inspired, or Jenna and I will be talking about, to inspire you to change, to do, so that those 5 things could stay with you longer, or could stay with you in a healthy, in a good way, okay? That you don't have to lose as fast. Okay? So thank you so much for all your time.